You ever walk into the kitchen and forget why you're there? Stand in front of the fridge, staring at nothing, wondering what you came to grab? Or maybe you've started a sentence, and halfway through, the words just disappear. If you nodded, even a little, you're not alone. And more importantly, you're not broken. These small moments, these mental hiccups, they sneak in slowly. And then one day, you notice they've become more frequent. Maybe you laugh it off. Maybe you get quiet. Maybe, deep down, you start to worry, is this the start of something worse? Is my memory slipping? Is this just part of getting older? Let me stop you right there. Yes, memory can change as we age. But no, forgetfulness is not your destiny. Because what if I told you, this isn't about getting old? It's about being underfed. Not your stomach, your brain. See, your brain is one of the most energy-hungry organs in your body. It runs on oxygen, nutrients, and clean blood flow. And when it doesn't get what it needs, your neurons start to whisper instead of shout. That's when words get lost mid-sentence. That's when your thoughts stall out in the middle of the day. That's when your presence starts to flicker, not fade, but flicker. But here's the good news, you can feed your mind back to life. Today, I'm going to walk you through a handful of powerful, natural foods that have been quietly supporting memory for decades, even centuries. Foods your brain still recognizes, even if the world has forgotten them. This isn't a miracle cure. It's nourishment. It's repair. It's fuel for the mind you still have, and the clarity that's still inside you, waiting. So if you've ever whispered to yourself, I miss the way I used to think, then stay with me. Because we're about to remind your brain what it was always meant to do. Most people think memory loss after 60 is just part of getting older. Like gray hair or stiff knees. But here's what I want you to know, as a doctor who's studied brain health for over 30 years, memory doesn't fade just because of age. It fades because your brain stops getting what it needs. Let me break it down for you. First, it's about blood flow. Your brain runs on oxygen. And oxygen is delivered through circulation. After 60, many men begin to experience a slow, silent reduction in blood flow to the brain. The vessels stiffen. Nitric oxide, the molecule that helps blood vessels relax, declines. And when blood flow slows down, your brain doesn't get enough oxygen or glucose. That means neurons can't fire properly. Synapses, the connections that hold your memories, don't communicate as clearly. The result? You feel foggy. You forget names, appointments, conversations. You lose that sharp edge. Second, it's about inflammation. Inflammation is like static in your brain's wiring. And it doesn't come from nowhere. It builds from poor sleep, high sugar intake, chronic stress, lack of movement. Low-grade inflammation can shrink areas of the brain like the hippocampus, the memory center. When this happens, your recall gets slower, your attention span shortens, and your mood begins to dull. Third, it's about deficiency. As we age, we absorb fewer nutrients. And unfortunately, most diets for older men are missing some of the key ingredients for memory. Things like vitamin B12, to protect your nerves, choline, to support neurotransmitters, folate, to help clear toxins from the brain, CoQ10, to fuel the energy factories inside your neurons. Without these, your brain literally runs low on fuel. And when energy is low, memory is the first to suffer. But here's the hopeful part. Each of these problems can be reversed, naturally, when you start giving your brain what it's asking for. We're not talking about drugs or drastic changes. We're talking about real food. Simple, powerful, familiar. Your brain doesn't need magic. It just needs the right fuel, delivered consistently, in the right form, at the right time. And that's exactly what we're going to explore next, through the story of a man who lost his words, and found them again with breakfast. I want to tell you about Elijah. He's 72. Lives in a quiet town outside Dallas. Retired school bus driver. Gentle, loyal, sharp with his hands, but lately, struggling with his words. When he first sat down in my office, he didn't come in complaining about memory. He came in for fatigue. Low energy. Mood swings. But what I noticed most was the silence. He paused a lot. Searched for the right word. Lost track halfway through a sentence. And at one point, he looked at me and said, "Doc, my wife started finishing my sentences for me. I don't think she even realizes it. But it hurts. Because it's like, I'm not showing up all the way." His tests came back clear. No dementia. No Alzheimer's. Just a brain that wasn't firing the way it used to. I asked about his diet. Toast in the morning. Sandwich at lunch. Something light for dinner. No color. No protein. No real fuel. That's where we started. We made 3 small changes. Added beef liver once a week, for B12, iron, and choline. Swapped sugary cereal for eggs and avocado. Blended blueberries and Greek yogurt into a smoothie every other morning. That's it. Nothing radical. Just real food that feeds real neurons. 2 weeks later, Elijah called me. His voice sounded lighter. His pace, quicker. "Doc," he said, "I don't know if it's the food or something else, but I feel like I'm waking up differently. Clearer. Like I can find my words again." At his next appointment, his wife came too. She smiled and said, "He's telling stories again, the long kind." Elijah grinned and added, "And I don't get interrupted anymore." We laughed. But deep down, we both knew, this wasn't just about memory. It was about identity. When you lose words, you lose pieces of yourself. But when you nourish your brain, those pieces return. One by one. Quietly. Like someone coming home. And the foods that helped Elijah? They're not new. They're not expensive. They're not experimental. They're simple. They're ancient. They're waiting in your kitchen. Let's start with the one your grandfather probably ate without ever knowing it was brain medicine. Let me be honest. When I mention beef liver to my patients, especially men over 60, I usually get the same reaction, a wrinkled nose. A half laugh. And some version of, "Doc, are you serious?" Yes. I'm serious. Because when it comes to rebuilding memory, focus, and energy, there's almost nothing more powerful, and more overlooked, than grass-fed beef liver. Here's why it works. Beef liver is a natural powerhouse of brain essential nutrients. And I'm not talking about trace amounts. I'm talking about concentrated doses of exactly what your neurons are starving for. Vitamin B12, for nerve protection and red blood cell production. Folate, to detox the brain and prevent memory decline. Choline, to produce acetylcholine, your memory messenger. Iron, to carry oxygen to the brain. CoQ10, to fuel the mitochondria inside each brain cell. That's not theory. That's pure biology. Your brain runs on oxygen, electricity, and clean fuel. And beef liver delivers all 3. But don't just take my word for it. When I started recommending it to men like Elijah, the results were quietly powerful. They started waking up clearer. They recalled conversations more easily. They stopped repeating themselves as often. Their presence came back, and people noticed. One man told me, "My wife said I was standing taller, but really, I just feel like I'm in the room again." Worried about the taste? I get it. You don't need to eat it every day. Once or twice a week is enough. Or take a high-quality freeze-dried liver supplement, just make sure it's grass-fed and additive-free. The key isn't quantity, it's consistency. Because when your brain starts getting the nutrients it forgot it needed, it begins to remember how to function. Clarity returns. Focus sharpens. And your confidence slowly rises from within. This isn't about going backward. It's about reawakening the part of you that never left, it just went quiet from lack of fuel. And liver? It speaks the language of your brain. But if liver is the ancient fuel, Then up next is nature's most colorful brain defender. A small handful that could turn back decades of decline. Let's talk berries. If liver is the brain's forgotten fuel, then berries are its daily armor. And I mean that literally. Because every day, your brain is under quiet attack, from stress, toxins, blood sugar swings, and inflammation. And over time, that assault starts to wear away at memory, focus, and clarity. But there's good news. Nature gave us a defense system, and it tastes like blueberries. What makes berries so powerful for your brain? It comes down to compounds called anthocyanins, the deep red, blue, and purple pigments found in dark berries. These are not just antioxidants. They're neuroprotective agents. Here's what the research shows. They cross the blood-brain barrier and directly protect neurons. They reduce inflammation in areas like the hippocampus, your memory center. They improve blood flow to small vessels in the brain. They support learning, recall, and coordination. A study from Tufts University showed that older adults who consumed blueberries daily for 12 weeks saw improvements in memory scores, processing speed, and mood. That's not just nutrition. That's neuro repair. But here's the part one love most. You don't need a fancy supplement or expensive extract. You just need a handful of berries, fresh or frozen, added to your routine. My favorite ways to use them? Blend into a morning smoothie with Greek yogurt and cinnamon. Add to a bowl of oatmeal or quinoa. Eat plain as an afternoon pick-me-up. Freeze and enjoy like tiny, brain-chilling snacks. They're simple. They're natural. And they taste like joy. One of my patients, Henry, 74, told me something beautiful a few weeks after starting his berry ritual. He said, "Doc, I feel like my thoughts are moving again, like the fog cleared." That's what happens when blood starts flowing back into the forgotten corners of your mind. And when your mind is protected, you don't just think better, you feel more present, more emotionally stable, more yourself. Berries do that. Quietly, consistently, without side effects. And they pair beautifully with the next two memory foods. The ones that fuel your brain's insulation and stabilize the hormones that keep your recall sharp. Let's talk eggs and avocados, because your memory needs more than protection, it needs fat and fire. There's a myth that's done a lot of damage over the years, especially to men over 60. It's the idea that fat is the enemy. We were told to skip the yolks, ditch the butter, and fear anything creamy. But your brain? It's mostly fat. And when it comes to memory, what your brain truly needs is not just protection, but high-octane fuel. Let me introduce you to two foods that do exactly that: eggs and avocados. Let's start with eggs. The yolk, not the white, is one of the richest sources of choline, a nutrient absolutely essential for producing acetylcholine, the neurotransmitter that governs memory, learning, and mental focus. Choline also strengthens the myelin sheath, the protective covering around nerve fibers that helps your brain send signals faster and more clearly. And eggs are also rich in vitamin B12, for nerve protection, vitamin D, for brain cell regeneration, leucine, an amino acid that supports brain energy. So when you eat eggs, especially whole eggs, you're literally feeding the communication system that makes thought and memory possible. Now let's add avocado to the plate. Avocados are rich in monounsaturated fats, the kind that keeps blood vessels flexible and supports steady blood flow to the brain. They also contain vitamin B6, which lowers cortisol, your stress hormone, magnesium, which calms the nervous system, potassium, which balances brain cell signaling. One of the most overlooked causes of memory decline is chronic, silent stress. Avocados help blunt that stress response. They stabilize blood sugar. They keep the nervous system calm but awake, the perfect state for mental clarity. And here's the best part. These two foods pair perfectly. One of my favorite brain-fueling breakfasts for older men? 2 soft-boiled eggs, 1/2 avocado, mashed with olive oil and sea salt, a few slices of steamed sweet potato on the side. It's creamy. It's comforting. And it delivers fat, fire, and focus within the first hour of your day. I had a patient named Ruben, 69, who used to skip breakfast altogether. When he started this exact combo, he came back 3 weeks later and said, "I don't know if I'm getting smarter, but I'm definitely sharper. I can finish a crossword without getting frustrated." That's what happens when you fuel your brain like it matters. Eggs and avocados are not fancy, but they are functional. And they remind your brain how to perform, without stimulants, without noise. Now, if these are your morning allies, our next superfoods are for the evening hours, to help you repair your memory while you sleep. Let's talk cloves and tart cherry juice, two natural tools to help your brain do its deepest work, in the quiet of the night. We've talked about food that fuels your brain during the day. Now let's talk about what it needs at night, when your brain does its deepest, quietest work. Because here's something most people don't realize. Memory isn't just formed when you're awake. It's rebuilt while you sleep. And if your sleep is shallow, broken, or restless, your memories never fully lock in. They slip away before they have a chance to stick. So if you want to think clearly, recall faster, and stay mentally present, you need to protect your nighttime brain. And that's where two humble superfoods come in: cloves and tart cherry juice. Let's start with cloves. Cloves contain a powerful compound called eugenol, which acts as a natural vasodilator. In simple terms, it opens up your blood vessels, especially the smaller ones that feed your brain. That means more oxygen, more nutrients, and better circulation, even during rest. But eugenol does something even more impressive. It helps stimulate the production of nitric oxide, which not only improves blood flow, but also relaxes the nervous system, helping your body shift into deep, restorative sleep. Some of my patients chew 2 whole cloves before bed, slowly, letting the oils release in their mouth. Others steep them in warm water for a simple evening tea. Either way, the effect is real. Calmer mind, softer heart rate, warmer hands and feet, deeper sleep. Now, pair that with tart cherry juice. Unlike sugary fruit drinks, pure tart cherry juice is rich in melatonin, the hormone that tells your body it's time to sleep, anthocyanins, the same brain-loving antioxidants found in berries, potassium and magnesium, which relax the muscles and lower nighttime blood pressure when taken about 30 minutes before bed. Just 4 to 6 ounces of tart cherry juice can help you fall asleep faster, stay asleep longer, and enter the deep sleep stages where your brain consolidates memory. One of my patients, Greg, 71, started doing a nighttime ritual. A warm clove tea, a small glass of tart cherry juice, 3 minutes of quiet breathing. In 2 weeks, he told me, "Doc, I'm not just sleeping longer, I'm waking up with clarity. I remember my dreams. I remember my appointments. I feel present again." That's what happens when you give your brain what it needs to rebuild itself during the most sacred hours of the night. So yes, cloves and cherries may seem small, but they're powerful. Because in the stillness of night, your brain isn't shutting down. It's filing, repairing, rewiring. And it does its best work when it's supported by nature. Up next, let's pull all of this together, and I'll leave you with one simple truth: you're not losing your mind. You just need to feed it, like it still matters. Let's take a breath right here. You've made it through every piece, every food, every story, every truth, and by now, I hope you feel something deeper than just information. I hope you feel possibility. Because despite what the world says, despite what you've maybe come to believe, you are not fading. Your memory, your sharpness, your clarity, they are not lost. They're just waiting for the right signal. The right fuel. The right care. Let's recap what we've uncovered together. Beef liver packed with B12, choline, iron, and CoQ10 to restore energy and memory pathways. Blueberries and blackberries, antioxidant-rich protectors that support brain blood flow and recall. Eggs and avocados, healthy fats and brain-firing nutrients that stabilize memory from the inside. Cloves and tart cherry juice, nighttime memory restorers that help your brain repair as you sleep. These aren't fads. They're not expensive. And they don't require perfection. They require presence. A choice. A whisper to your own body that says, "I still care about what happens next," and I do. Because I've seen what happens when men like you stop accepting decline and start feeding their brains like they still matter. Their thoughts come back. Their words sharpen. Their confidence grows quietly, steadily, like spring after a long winter. So here's your invitation. Start with one change. Maybe add berries to your breakfast. Maybe chew a clove tonight. Maybe bring back eggs with your morning coffee. Let it be small. Let it be yours. And if this message spoke to something inside you, even a little, type, "Remember me," in the comments below. Let me know you're choosing to nourish the part of you that still remembers how powerful your mind once was, and how possible it still is. Because memory isn't just about the past. It's about presence. It's about staying here, fully, with the people who matter. And that presence can come back.